Who I got with me today?
Andrew.
All right, Andrew, I'm going to ask you 3 questions. The first question is, if a plane crashes on the border of the United States and Mexico, where do you bury the survivors?
Nowhere, because you can't bury surviving bodies.
Got you. Second question is, if a dozen of donuts cost 12 cents, how much would 100 donuts cost?
Damn, I don't know.
A dozen of donuts cost 12 cents. But you want 100 though. How much would it be?
$1.20.
Huh?
$1.20.
100 donuts? 12, a dozen is 12, right?
Yeah.
That's why it's 12 cents. But you want 100.
Yeah.
How much would it be?
It'll be $1.20, wouldn't it?
Why would it be $1.20?
Damn,
You don't want 120 donuts. You want
it would be $1.
100.
12 cents.
How?
I can't really explain my thinking.
A dozen is 12, right?
Yeah.
So that means each donut is 1 cent.
Oh, so we need $1?
Yeah. The last question is, who faces on the $1 bill?
$1 bill, George Washington.
Say it again.
George Washington.
Yeah. Introduce yourself.
My name is Gabriel Bailey. I'm a redhead, if you didn't know. Yep.
I'll ask you 3 questions. The first question is, if a plane was to crash on the border of the United States and Mexico, where would you bury the survivors?
You wouldn't bury the fucking survivors. Like, it's obvious math. Like, you wouldn't bury survivors. Like,
It's math?
it's math, bro. It's just math.
Since it's math, the second question is, you got a dozen of donuts cost 12 cents. How much would 100 donuts cost?
I don't know.
It's just
Get
math.
a calculator.
Though. It's just math, though.
Wait a second. It's 60. I think.
It's 60 what?
$60. I think. I don't know.
$100. 100 donuts would cost $60.
Yes.
If a dozen of donuts cost 12,
Yeah, 12 cents. Carry the one, $6.
like talk your math. Like, what you mean?
So 12 times 6 or whatever would be like some number, you know?
What number 12 times 6 is?
Wait, 72, I think.
So 100 donuts cost 72 cents.
Yes,
You sure?
I'm positive.
How much is a dozen?
12. So each one is 1 cent.
Okay then, but you want 100. So how much would that cost?
$100. No, 100 cents. Whatever. It's $1. I told
Okay
you.
then, you talking about $60? The last question is, who faces on a $1 bill?
George Washington? No, Jorge Washington. Jorge Washington.
Introduce yourself.
I'm Tanasia.
All right, Sinead, I'm gonna ask you 3 questions. The first question is, if a plane crashes in the border of Mexico and the United States, where you bury the survivors?
You don't bury survivors.
Second question is, a dozen of donuts cost 12 cents. How much would 100 cost?
What?
A dozen of donuts cost 12 cents. How much would 100 cost?
It's a trick question.
How much is a donut? How many donuts is a dozen?
12.
All right, but you want 100. How much would it cost? If a dozen costs 12 cents.
You can't do that math on that.
If a dozen is 12 cents. If a dozen is 12 cents, how much would 100 cost? And a dozen is 12.
Okay.
And a dozen is 12 cents. How much would 100 cost? It means one donut is 1 cent. How much would 100 be?
100. Now that makes sense. That makes sense.
So you saying that 100 would be 100?
My bad.
No.
Calm down.
Wait, times out 100 donuts would be $100?
No. It'll be,
$1. I know you're trying to say $1. Our last question is, who faces on a $1 bill?
George Washington, right?
Is it? Introduce yourself.
Oh yeah, alright. So my name is Sergio. Y'all already know who I am. I don't gotta do no introductions. You already know who it is.
So I'm gonna ask you 3 questions. The first question is, if a plane crashed on the border of Mexico and the United States, will you bury the survivors?
Would there be any survivors? Well, that depends.
Where you bury those survivors?
Oh, would I bury them?
Where do you bury them at?
Where do I bury them? Oh, shit. That's a good question. You let the Mexican cartels take them for ransom money, and then you just let the process do its thing.
What?
No.
Yeah, that's...
No, you can't bury your survivors.
Oh, I can't?
You gonna bury your survivors?
If I have to, I guess so.
Alright.
Give me a shovel.
Your second question is, a dozen of donuts cost 12 cents. How much would 100 cost?
If a dozen donuts cost 12 cents, how much would 100 cost? Oh, $1.
Indeed.
Graham.
Alright, I'm gonna ask you 3 questions. The first question is, a plane crashes on the border of Mexico and the United States. Where would you bury the survivors?
Say that again.
If a plane crashes on the border of Mexico and the United States, where would you bury the survivors?
They not dead, cause they survivors, you know.
Alright, a dozen of donuts cost 12 cents. How much would 100 cost?
Say that again.
A dozen of donuts cost 12 cents. How much would 100 donuts cost?
$1.
The last question is, who's on that $1 bill?
George Washington.
Introduce yourself. I'm asking 3 questions. The first question is, if the plane was to crash on the border of Mexico and the United States, would you bury the survivors?
They survive. You can't bury them.
Alright, the second question is, a dozen of donuts cost 12 cents. How much does 100 donuts cost?
100 cents. $1.
The last question is, who fits on the $1 bill? Take a wild guess. Nah, he on the 5 though. Who the first president? Oh, so you want a $1 bill? Okay then. Alright, introduce yourself.
Oh, my name Jordan.
Alright, Jordan. I'm gonna ask you 3 questions. The first question is, if a plane crashes on the border of the United States and Mexico, where you bury the survivors?
Shit. My survivors? Shit. John Cruz. My man Rev. And that's it, man.
Where you gonna bury him at though?
What you mean where I'ma bury him?
I don't know, you tell me.
Shit.
The plane
What you mean where I'ma bury him at?
I don't know, you tell me. The plane crashes on the border of the United States and Mexico. Where you gonna bury the survivors?
In Mexico. If it crashed in Mexico, I'm gonna bury him in Mexico, right?
You can't bury your survivors.
But they did, cause we all.
The survivors not. The survivors not dead though.
Alright, so why I'ma bury him then?
Cause you can't. That's the answer. You can't bury your survivors.
Oh, so that's the question?
That's the answer. The second question is, a dozen of donuts cost 12 cents. How much would 100 donuts cost?
12 cents. A dozen is 12.
Yeah. But you want 100?
100 donuts?
Yeah.
But I don't know, bro. Like $1? $1.50?
You were close, but it's not $1.50 though.
How much is it?
You too.
$2.
How is it $2 if a dozen is 12? One donut.
100, right?
I mean, one donut is 1 cent.
Donuts a cent. And you getting 100?
Yeah.
$1.20. $1 and something, right? It's $1 and something, right?
Yeah, it's $1 or something.
Oh, that's good food. That's a nice one.
It's $1.
I knew it was $1.
You said $1.20.
I know, but I was just adding that just ask me.
Oh, the last question is, who fate is on the $1 bill?
Benjamin Franklin. Oh, I'm tripping. I mean, George Washington.
Introduce yourself.
My name is Elijah.
I'm gonna ask y'all 3 questions. The first question is, if a plane crashes on the border of Mexico and the United States, where will you bury the survivors?
They survived. You don't bury them. You got it right. Yeah, they survived. You don't bury survivors.
Alright, the next question is, you got a dozen of donuts cost 12 cents. How much will 100 donuts cost?
Yeah. Why the hell would you buy 100 donuts in the first place? Nigga just answered it.
Yeah, I don't know. That's $1.
Because it's 1 cent per donut.
But dozen donuts.
12 cents. Yeah. Hey, you got it right. Anyway.
That's 12 and you got 100.
How much is a dozen?
12.
And they call 12 cents. So how much 100 cost? The last question is who faced on $1 bill?
Abraham Lincoln. Nigga, that's a penny.
Who faced on $1 bill? Say who?
Bill Nye. Wait, no, say it. Hey, no.
You got it right there.
Yeah, George Washington. That's what I meant.
Introduce yourself.
I'm Ty. Kamari.
I'm gonna ask you 3 questions. The first question is.
The GOAT, the Don, yeah, don't play.
I'm gonna ask you 3 questions. The first question is: the plane crashes on the border of Mexico and the United States. Where will you bury the survivors?
What you say? No survivors. What you say?
If the plane crashes on the border of Mexico and the United States, where you bury the
Yeah,
survivors?
there's no survivors because it crashed. You thought we was going to know that? You thought? Next question.
The second question is: a dozen of donuts cost 12 cents. How much is 100 donuts?
A dozen of donuts cost 12 cents?
Yeah. How much is 100 donuts? Why would 100 donuts cost 12 cents if a dozen costs 12? How much is a dozen?
12 cents.
Okay then. How much is 100 donuts then?
I don't know.
Each donut is 1 cent. That's why a dozen is 12 cents. So it would be $1.
$1.
Yeah. The last question is who's on the $1 bill?
George Washington. Yeah, George Washington.
All right, who I got with me today?
Henry, El Chapo.
All right, the first question is if a plane was to crash on the border of the United States and Mexico, where would you bury the survivors?
Say it again. What?
If a plane was to crash on the border of Mexico and the United States, where would you bury the survivors?
Mexico.
Why Mexico?
I don't know.
But they ain't dead though.
Oh, what the fuck?
So what would you do with them?
Kill them. Like, no, I'm just playing. I don't know.
But you can't bury your survivors. The second question is a dozen of donuts cost 12 cents. How much would 100 donuts cost?
A dozen of donuts cost 12 cents. How much would 100 cost? I fucking know, bro. You're making me feel retarded. $3.50.
How much is a dozen?
12 cents.
So how much would 100 donuts cost?
I don't know, bro. Making me feel retarded.
It's basically saying one donut is 1 cent.
Uh-huh.
So, but you want 100 donuts. That's why a dozen is 12 cents.
Bro.
How much will 100 donuts cost?
I'll go ahead, bro.
The last question is who faced on the $1 bill?
Who faces on the $1 bill? Excuse me. Malcolm X. No. I'm just saying.
Who?
Oh no, Malcolm X. I'm just playing. No. I'm just playing. I don't know.
It's Jules Butler.
Ballin' since I was a jit. Right before Oakland and filming the skits, I had to go to get rich.